Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the Tamils. For over 2,500 years, their civilization has been shaped by a land of rugged mountains, rich farmlands, and a vast, shimmering sea. But what's incredible is how much of that story was almost lost to time forever.
You see, for centuries, a huge part of the earliest Tamil history was basically written off as myth. It was just stuff you'd find in legends and folklore. It was a world that people knew by name, sure, but its reality, its complexities, all of that was just buried under the dust of time.
So how do you find something like that again? Well, the story of its rediscovery is absolutely incredible. And it doesn't start with some big archaeological dig. Nope. It begins back in the 19th century, with one man's almost obsessive hunt through the attics and monastery storerooms of southern India. That man's name was U.V. Swaminatha Iyer. Now, the story goes that a local judge just casually asked him one day why he hadn't studied the old texts. And for Iyer, who was this brilliant scholar, this was, well, it was baffling. He'd never even heard of them. And that one simple question, it ticked off a quest that would last his entire life.
Iyer spent his life on this amazing literary treasure hunt. And what he was looking for was unbelievably fragile, delicate, crumbling palm leaf manuscripts. He dug them up, painstakingly edited them, and then printed these forgotten texts, literally bringing an entire literary tradition back from the dead. These poems, which we now call Sangam literature, open this astonishing window into a civilization that was, at the same time, incredibly sophisticated and just beautifully simple. And what these ancient poems showed was a totally unique worldview. It was a way of seeing things where the landscape itself, that was the key to understanding human life. It wasn't just some pretty backdrop, it was everything.
Okay, so the core idea here is something called Tinai. Now, the ancient Tamils sorted their world into 5 connected landscapes. But Tinai is so much more than just geography. It's the whole context, the season, the time of day, the specific flower that grows there, and even the exact human emotion that belongs to that place. It's the whole vibe.
Let's see how this plays out, because it's pretty cool. Each of these 5 landscapes was tied to a very specific mood. So you have the mountains, Kurinchi. That was a place for the secret, urgent love of young lovers. Then the forests, Mulai, were for patiently waiting for someone you love to come back. The farmlands, Marudam, spoke of happy unions. The seashore, Natal, of anxious separation. And finally, the drylands, Palai. That was the landscape for the pain of dangerous journeys. You see, every part of life was woven right into the land itself. In this world, human feelings were so huge, so powerful, that only nature could even come close to being a worthy metaphor. I mean, listen to this poet trying to describe her love. She reaches for the earth, the sky, and the sea, and finds that they're all too small. It just shows you, in the ancient Tamil worldview, humanity and nature weren't two separate things at all. They were one and the same. But here's the question that really bugged scholars for a long time. Was this beautiful, poetic world just a literary fantasy, a nice idea, or did it actually exist? Well, for the answer, we have to go from those palm leaves to the earth itself, where modern archaeology has come up with some pretty stunning proof.
First, let's just talk about the sheer age of human presence here. It's staggering. Near Chennai, archaeologists found this teardrop-shaped hand axe. And it's not just a tool. You can see it's a piece of art, carved with incredible skill. And get this, it's dated as far back as 1.7 million years ago. That tells you something about the deep, deep roots of human ingenuity in this part of the world.
And what's really exciting is that recent discoveries are totally rewriting the timeline for the Sangam civilization. For a long time, everyone thought it started around 300 BCE, but new finds are pushing that clock way back, first to 500 BCE. And then you have sites like Adichanallur, where artifacts like paddy husks found in burial urns have been dated all the way back to 1500 BCE. That's a huge leap back in time. And we're not talking about simple little villages here. The evidence is pointing to a complex urban society. At Adichanallur, you've got gold diadems suggesting pretty sophisticated rituals. At Kodamanal, they found Roman coins, which tells you this place was a powerhouse of global trade. And then there's Kijadi, with brick walls and drainage systems, clear proof of advanced urban planning. The poetry wasn't a fantasy, it was the soundtrack to a real, thriving civilization. So, all of this deep history has forged a really powerful Tamil identity. But it's an identity that's both incredibly proud and, well, deeply paradoxical. On the one hand, you have this profound, almost spiritual pride in the language.
I love how the poet Subramania Bharati put it. When Tamil is mentioned, honey pours into one's ears. But on the other hand, this pride can exist right alongside the really persistent and troubling challenges of caste. And that's a paradox that really sits at the heart of the modern identity. So what you see is a culture that is ancient and modern, progressive and traditional all at the same time. It's this vast mosaic of different experiences and beliefs. The best way to say it is to borrow a line from the poet Walt Whitman. The Tamils are a people who are large, who contain multitudes. And this really brings us to a final thought, doesn't it? The story of the Tamils, a story that was lost for hundreds of years and then found again in these crumbling manuscripts. It suggests something really powerful. It suggests that maybe, just maybe, a civilization's truest portrait, the one that really lasts, isn't written in stone or buried in the ground, but is found in that timeless connection between its land, its art, and the inner lives of its people.